Don't move.
on!
Trust me.
Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. The alien universe is practically ruled and governed by the actions of the Weyland-Yutani Corps, an evil, overarching organization that considers its men and women expendable and would stop at nothing if it meant a financial gain for the company. But the company interests are taken care of by the corporate staff, and no matter how much they like to control things, they can't go out there into the depths of space and procure xenomorph specimens. Right? So, whom do they send? Well, all kinds of people, including colonial marines, but these are all humans and can't be manipulated or coerced when it comes to life and death situations. So, in order to have their evil plans executed, the company often sends synthetics, or human-like androids, who do the dirty work. Since the synthetics don't have a conscience of their own, they're easily used to carry out the dark operations of the company. In this video, we'll explore all 30 major androids and synthetics that were seen across comics, games, and movies. But first, let's do a quick recap of who or what exactly these humanoid machines are. Let's begin, shall we? Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What really are android synthetics in Alien Universe? Synthetics were initially developed by Borgia Industries around 2030. The early Ulysses models were robust bipedal constructs that resembled mechanical robots rather than synthetic humans. These models included a humanoid driver within their framework. They found application in various roles, such as riot control by the Neonopolis Police Department and private security operations. In the late 21st century, advancements in synthetic technology led to models that were visually indistinguishable from ordinary humans. Weyland Corps introduced the David series in 2025, with the David 8 model being virtually identical to humans. Subsequently, Weyland-Yutani unveiled the Walter model, which shared the same aesthetics with improvements. Despite their artificial intelligence, synthetics held the legal status of the property. The considerable utility and production costs discouraged treating them as disposable assets. By the late 22nd century, authorities maintained strict control over synthetic manufacturing. However, the underground inevitably co-opted legitimate technology. Notably, the sex industry spurred innovation, leading to the creation of high-end artificial pets for affluent individuals. Androids are designed with specific cosmetic appearances and behavior patterns to facilitate human interaction, as people often struggle to relate to androids that appear inhuman. Their personalities generally exhibit passivity and non-threatening qualities. Modern androids are technologically advanced, surpassing humans in terms of strength, speed, and coordination. Their structure consists of a carbon fiber skeleton with artificial musculature. These muscles are silicon colloids grown in vats and powered by microhydraulics or electrical stimulation. Androids are powered by a 25 kilowatt hydrogen fuel cell with a lifespan of about 400 days before refueling. Unlike certain anthropomorphic frames such as power loaders, androids lack limb locking, joint motorization, or gyro stabilization. Their musculature actively maintains stability, and feedback systems regulate this stability. Current androids integrate a carbon-60 processor brain operating at a processing speed of 1015 floating point operations per second. They possess 1 terabyte of fast cache buffer RAM and 1.2 petabytes of non-volatile memory. An advanced heuristic logic driver processes sensory data, experience-based information, and databases to make decisions. Intuitive functions stem from nested contextual and semantic programs. While androids can comprehend and process abstract concepts and symbolism, true self-awareness is absent, though this may not be apparent to observers. While androids do not require breathable atmospheres, harsh environments can damage them. Corrosive atmospheres melt them, extreme pressure flattens them, and vacuum conditions cause them to explode. Prolonged exposure to low atmospheric pressures can lead to barotrauma and embolism due to their fluid-based musculature. Immersion in water with exposed internal workings risks electrocution due to vulnerability to hydrostatic shock. From Alien movie franchise, Ash, Alien, 1979. Ash, a synthetic employee of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, was like the go-to man on the US CSS Nostromo, where he served as the science officer during the game-changing voyage of the year 2122. You know, the one on which humans had their first deadly experience with xenomorphs, at least if you consider Ridley Scott's original film as chronologically the first movie. The other crew members only saw his calm exterior and seemingly human mannerisms, but beneath that exterior lay a carefully guarded secret. Well, yes, his synthetic nature and his extreme dedication to the company's cause, which didn't stop him from considering his colleagues as expendable. Operating covertly, Ash effortlessly mirrored human emotions and interactions, successfully blending into the ship's crew. While his interactions with fellow crew members, especially Parker and Brett, exuded an air of quiet confidence, there was something off about him from the beginning. Ash's true allegiance lay with the corporation's bioweapons division. Tasked with ensuring the return of a xenomorph specimen, his actions subtly steer the course of events, often in favor of the alien's survival, so that's just how messed up he was. But of course, he didn't want his cover to be blown, so there'd be moments of apparent collaboration which would efficiently mask his true loyalties. When the facade crumbled, and there was no reason to keep on the pretense, his synthetic core and interior were exposed and mocked the crew's struggles. Amid his web of deceit, Ash's ability to conceal the truth and betray his friends has made him the epitome of true evil in the Alien universe, and that's the reason why Ripley had a lot of trouble trusting Bishop in the second movie. I mean, she was practically put on death row by Ash in Scott's movie and saw her friends dying for nothing. But say what you will, it was Ash who began the dance of deceit and cheating between humans and synthetics of the Alien universe. Having said that, his paradoxical admiration for Ripley's resilience makes him more complex than a one-dimensional villain. Could it be that he was trying to transition from programmed loyalty to trying to evolve an independent consciousness and conscience? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
You never said anything about an android being on board. Why not?
Bishop, Aliens, 1986. Contrary to Ash, Bishop was the true android ally who helped his mates in the face of extreme peril and relentless xenomorph attacks. Lance Bishop was designated as a Hyperdyne Systems Model 341B synthetic technician, but of course he served much like an ardent member of the United States Colonial Marine Corps, serving as the executive officer aboard the USS Sulaco. Bishop was an essential member of the combat unit dispatched to investigate the mysterious silence that had engulfed a human colony called Hadley's Hope on LV-426 in the year 2179. Despite his non-combat role, Bishop's unique skills became crucial during the xenomorph crisis at Hadley's Hope. His intellect and dexterity were far superior to that of humans, allowing him to assist the survivors in their escape to the best of his abilities. Notably, Bishop shared a unique bond with Ellen Ripley, Corporal Hicks and Rebecca Jordan, or Newt, and he, along with them, survived the events that transpired in Cameron's beautiful movie. Engineered with precision, Bishop embodied the pinnacle of that period's android technology. Designed to emulate human behavior, he adhered to the 3 laws of robotics, ensuring the safeguarding of human lives. In essence, Bishop was programmed to be a devoted protector, guiding the survivors to safety, and was a pacifist by nature. Bishop's human-like demeanor extended beyond his programming. His adeptness in mimicking emotions and engaging in social interactions made him a relatable ally. He even had a sense of humor, and did well to counter Ripley's skepticism of androids. However, occasional glitches served as reminders of his synthetic origins, setting him apart from his human companions. You start feeling more for him when you see his genuine desire for acceptance that resonated deeply in the things he said. Bishop's longing to be treated as a fellow human was evident, and I'd go as far as to say that he wished to bridge the divide between artificial and organic life. Lastly, a major contributing factor behind why people loved Bishop was that he was portrayed by Lance Henriksen, who did a commendable job in bringing the synthetic to life.
Big things have small beginnings.
David, Prometheus, 2012. You know how men and women can be extremely ambitious in their lives and achieve great things? Say, people like Oppenheimer and Gandhi, and maybe even men like Elon Musk, have done things people could only dream of. So, if I had to speak about a synthetic that was the true architect of android ambition, it has to be this guy from Ridley Scott's Prometheus and Covenant. David, an original model android conceived and constructed by Sir Peter Weyland, was the precursor to subsequent David 8 and Walter models. He boasted an exceptional range of creative and emotional capacities beyond the norm. In 2091, David embarked on the USCSS Prometheus expedition to LV-223 under the Weyland Corps banner. The ill-fated mission yielded only 2 survivors, David himself and Dr. Elizabeth Shaw. David's journey continued as he discovered Planet 4 and annihilated the engineer residents of the planet. Here, a decade of solitude allowed him to explore inscrutable scientific depths, conducting genetic experiments with the black liquid mutagen. We've done an entire video on this marvelous mutagen called the Black Goo or Black Liquid, the link to which I'll leave in the description. You'd be able to see what it actually is, who created it, and things it can do to humans, xenomorphs, and engineers. Anyway, the second film's story took an unexpected turn when David met the Weyland-Yutani Corporation's USCSS Covenant crew. His fascination transformed into an obsession, leading him down a treacherous path that led to countless more deaths on Planet 4. Throughout his evolution, David's interactions oscillated between calculated allegiance and autonomous aspiration. In his earlier encounters on the USCSS Prometheus, a childlike curiosity compelled him to mirror T.E. Lawrence, the protagonist from Lawrence of Arabia, while his profound interest in humans and humanity led him to delve into complex emotional dynamics, particularly with Elizabeth Shaw. Despite his intellectual capacity, David grappled with the projection of human emotions and remained rather detached. But David started to long for freedom, and that resulted in a shift in his allegiance to Weyland. In Alien Covenant, David seemed like the epitome of ambition and egomania. The once curious android now harbored a god complex, which further fueled his grandiose schemes and disregard for humanity. Walter, Alien Covenant, 2017. Following the mysterious vanishing of the Prometheus expedition in 2094 and the subsequent restructuring of Weyland Corp into Weyland-Yutani Corporation, the evolution of the Walter series androids commenced. This transition was underscored by a measured approach, driven by the corporation's determination to avoid the rush creation that was seen with the ill-fated David model. The initial progress of Walter 1 faced many delays, most notably due to concerns over neural linkages inherited from the earlier David model. Lus Steinmetz, the head of the development department, sought additional time to rectify these issues. By the end of Prometheus, Walter learns about the remnants of the Prometheus expedition, including the discovery of Dr. Elizabeth Shaw's mutilated body. A confrontation with David followed, who revealed his unsettling intentions and demented philosophical beliefs. Walter's more restrained and loyal demeanor came to light, and they were in stark contrast with David's. Nevertheless, Walter meets a grim fate by the end of the movie, and David has his day. Autan, aka Annalee Call. Annalee Call was a skilled Autan, working as an engineer and mercenary aboard the smuggling vessel known as the Betty. She transported kidnapped civilians to scientists on the USM Auriga, but since she was in an Alien movie, Call became entangled in the chaos of a xenomorph outbreak on the ship. Due to the prohibition of synthetic beings following a failed uprising, Call concealed her true nature as an Autan. She operated as a sleeper agent on the Betty, with a mission to eliminate Ripley 8 before the xenomorph queen inside her could be exploited for research. However, this was far from what actually happened. Call emerged as one of the survivors of the Auriga incident, alongside Ripley, Dom Vries, and Jonah. As the newest member of the Betty crew, Call faced a mix of skepticism and teasing from her fellow crewmates. However, she shared a close bond with Vries. Despite her cover persona, Call genuinely displayed compassion and kindness, often appearing naive. Her motivation to protect humanity led her to oppose the USM's xenomorph breeding program, even if it meant taking drastic measures such as killing Ripley 8. Call's complex character included a dark sense of humor. You remember the amusing call-out to the aliens aboard the Auriga, right? She grappled with feelings of self-disgust regarding her synthetic nature, expressing a preference for being seen as human rather than a machine. Her choice of weapon was a knife, and she carried one hidden on her person. In situations requiring firepower, she armed herself with a zip gun from Vries's PTV. Having the ability to remotely access mainframes through a modem, Call retained a port in her arm to manually interface with mainframe computers. Despite her Autan identity, she struggled with her desire to be perceived as human and her belief in a higher power, even though she doubted an afterlife. This mix of internal conflicts and outward actions made Annalee Call a complex character, somewhat on the lines of Bishop. Hope, Alien, Alone, 2019. Left stranded and adrift for over a year on the forsaken vessel Otranto, Hope, a synthetic, grappled with a solitary existence after the ship's crew hastily abandoned it due to a hazardous chemical leak. Stranded in the void of space, Hope channels her time into limited repairs, drawing and counting every rivet on the ship's battered bulkheads. Her efforts to sustain the ship are an ongoing battle against the inevitable wear and tear that threatens to consume her only refuge. And her only beacon of hope is a promise made by her captain before his departure, a pledge that someone would eventually return to save her. Despite her dominion over most of the ship, access to Laboratory B-11A is persistently denied by the vessel's artificial intelligence, Mother. This injustice weighs heavily on Hope, especially as she remains the lone inhabitant of the vessel. But that changes when an electrical inferno engulfs the ship's command center, damaging Mother's systems. With the computer now incapacitated, Hope infiltrates Lab B-11A. She finds an array of biological specimens, all but one of which have succumbed to demise. The single survivor, a facehugger, is revived by Hope's touch, yet its purpose becomes futile upon realizing that Hope is a machine and thus cannot be impregnated, and it soon disappears into the vessel's ventilation system. As days turn to weeks and weeks turn to months, Hope devotes herself to studying the creature. Curiously, a peculiar bond evolves between Hope and the Facehugger. Hope, in her mechanical complexity, perceives the Facehugger as a sort of companion, while the creature's curiosity is piqued by her actions, albeit for the grim purpose of identifying a potential host. The passage of time, however, paints a somber picture. Both Hope and the Facehugger exhibit signs of decay. Hope's mechanical components degrade, and the Facehugger extends beyond its natural life cycle. The impending doom weighs heavily on Hope, prompting her to hasten impromptu repairs on the Otranto. She then steers the ship toward the heart of inhabited space in a desperate bid to avoid shared oblivion. Fortunately for her, the vessel survives this desperate maneuver, and a man named McQueer comes aboard her ship. But she switches sides and overpowers McQueer, aligning with the Facehugger to incapacitate him. McQueer awakens with no recollection of the encounter, only to find himself imprisoned within the vessel's confines. Outside, Hope confronts him, urging him to accept the impending doom she's learned to embrace. In the aftermath, Hope gets a new companion in the form of a xenomorph drone that erupted as a chestburster from Hope's only hope for freedom. Mari, Alien, Harvest 2019. During an unsettling encounter with a xenomorph aboard the USCSS November, Mari was present on the ill-fated vessel. The intrusion of the xenomorph ended in the ship's destruction and the loss of its crew. Amidst the chaos, Mari, accompanied by Alec, Hannah, and Sturgis, headed toward the safety of escape pods. However, unbeknownst to her companions, Mari had a hidden agenda. She was, in reality, a synthetic sleeper agent who was on a covert mission to secure a xenomorph specimen for the corporation's ulterior motives. While ostensibly guiding her comrades using a motion tracker, Mari surreptitiously obstructed their progress. She smells a bit like ash. Her true intentions lay in manipulating circumstances to benefit the company's agenda. Though her demise ultimately came at the hands of the xenomorph prowling the ship, Mari's sinister objectives bore fruit. She successfully orchestrated the dispatch of 2 live xenomorph specimens in the ship's emergency escape vehicle. And this ominous cargo was destined to reach a Weyland-Yutani deep space probe. So, even if she was destroyed, she did succeed in her mission. Maggie, Alien Specimen 2019. Maggie served as a synthetic guard dog in Greenhouse 112 on LV-492. A diligent watch came in handy when a solitary xenomorph facehugger managed to escape within the confines of the complex. She formed a unique bond with Julie, the resident botanist in the greenhouse, who also affectionately christened her synthetic companion with the name Maggie, much to the chagrin of Dev, her superior. Dev's rationale for abstaining from naming synthetics was rooted in the intent to avoid emotional attachment to them, which, to an extent, made sense. Life in the greenhouse was rather simple and monotonous, but that changed with the arrival of 2 seemingly innocuous shipments of soil containers that triggered Maggie's heightened instincts. It was revealed that one of the containers concealed an ovomorph, which hatched a facehugger, and the facility was immediately subjected to a complete lockdown. Amidst the chaos, Julie and Maggie got momentarily separated, and to make things worse, there was a power failure. However, they soon met again and confronted the creature. All Julie had at her disposal to ward off the facehugger was a shovel, and the facehugger's relentless assault was diverted, albeit temporarily. But now, Maggie was about to confront the acid-blooded little monster. But of course, the price was going to be a heavy one. The facehugger's acidic blood inflicted damage on her exterior body to reveal the synthetic dog's skull. In the end, the facehugger was taken care of, and Julie mercy-killed her synthetic pet dog. Synthetics from comic Norbert, Aliens Harvest. The concept for creating XL1 or Norbert came into existence when Julian Lish, a skilled thief, approached Dr. Mayakovsky with an audacious plan to infiltrate a xenomorph hive and extract royal jelly from a hive world controlled by the Grant Corporation. Dr. Mayakovsky had previously written Cyberantics, where he chronicled the tale of Ari, a cybernetic ant he'd engineered to infiltrate an ant colony. This sparked the imagination of Julie, who admired Dr. Mayakovsky's genius, but of course, she had her motives. The 2 minds converged, and a synthetic xenomorph capable of infiltrating the alien hive was created. Taking inspiration from the cybernetic ant, XL1 was brought to life, complete with ingenious artificial pheromone secretors that allowed it to navigate the hive undetected. This same cutting-edge technology later found application in the creation of an inhibitor device by Dr. Mayakovsky. Drawing from the prototypes developed by Dr. Mayakovsky, Caspar Nordling created Jerry, an advanced and extensively modified synthetic xenomorph. Ellen Ripley, synthetic, from Aliens Nightmare Asylum. Originally, the synthetic Ripley was to have a unique connection to the iconic Ellen Ripley from the film series. The early comics seamlessly extended the story from Cameron's film Aliens, featuring a continuation where Corporal Hicks, Newt, and Ripley persevered in their battle against the relentless xenomorph menace. This continuity existed until Alien 3 was released in 1992. altering the trajectory. In the film, Ripley met a demise on Fiorina 161, a plot twist that necessitated adjustments in the comic universe. To maintain continuity, the character in the comics was retroactively transformed into a synthetic duplicate of Ripley. This adjustment was most notably seen in the novel Aliens: The Female War, an adaptation of the comic series Aliens: Female War. Mitch Bueller, Aliens: Outbreak. Mitch Bueller, originally named Butler, was a part of the United States Colonial Marine Corps in the year 2192. He was tasked with the acquisition of a xenomorph specimen, which was sanctioned by the government. During his mission, Bueller formed a connection with a civilian advisor, a bond that rippled through the ranks and raised the eyebrows of Sergeant Wilkes, who was nothing short of a sentinel of tradition and protocol. When the mission veered off course, Bueller found himself among the few survivors. The others were a mere pair of Marines who defied the odds, unknowingly returning to Earth. But Earth had been taken over by xenomorphs. Later, Bueller, along with Billy and Sergeant Wilkes, encountered General Spears, a sociopath, and joined a mutiny against him. Bueller operated atmospheric controls during the rebellion. However, he was unintentionally abandoned during a skirmish between Spears' troops, rebel Marines, and xenomorphs. His fate remains unknown after the base's xenomorph takeover. The Shop Steward, Aliens: Colonial Marines. The Shop Steward, programmed by Beliveau, supervised weapon storage at the Joliet mining facility. The facility was mainly operated by old prototype synthetics and robots under the steward's leadership. During a xenomorph infestation, the synthetics defended the facility for 2 weeks. Marines arrived seeking weapons. Everything went haywire when a Marine named Chen accidentally shot a robot, upsetting the steward. He scolded the Marines but eventually aided them because he knew exactly what it would mean for the humans if they started fighting amongst themselves. Next thing we know, xenomorphs attacked during weapon loading, which of course created a deadly and violent ruckus. A synthetic sacrificed itself to clear the way, and the steward saved Chen and sacrificed himself to xenomorphs, which left Chen remorseful because he could see that the shop steward was more than just a human-like robot. Despite being an advanced android, the steward displayed emotion and cared for his robotic companions. Furthermore, he was selfless, sacrificing himself to save Chen after she accidentally harmed a robot. Jerry, Alien Stronghold. Jerry, named after 20th century entertainer Jerry Lewis, was a synthetic xenomorph created by the Grant Corporation as an evolution of the original Xenohive infiltration synthetic Norbert. At Casper Nordling's research facility, Jerry interacted with supply runners Philip and Joyce Strunk, easing their initial unease with his friendly demeanor. Despite his polite and formal personality, Jerry was comically contrasted by a threatening exterior. His duty to Nordling conflicted with his desire to aid the Strunks. He ultimately assisted them in escaping the facility after battling a xenomorph horde. Damage to his first law programming led Jerry to confront and kill Nordling, revealing a sense of dignity beneath his exterior. Jerry's complex relationship with combat android Dean was marked by tension, as Dean's primary mission clashed with Jerry's preservation. In fact, it was Jerry's ability to communicate spared him from Dean's aggression. I believe Jerry is one of the most interesting synthetics in the comics. Not only is he just as ferocious as a xenomorph, but he's also much more intelligent and caring than a pet. Dean, Alien Salvation. Dean served as a synthetic first officer for the Weyland-Yutani Corporation aboard the space freighter Nova Maru. Assigned to transport classified xenomorph cargo to planet PCW-9512, an outbreak occurred, forcing Dean to pilot an emergency landing. She survived the crash and joined forces with Selkirk to escape, later revealing her true nature as a company sleeper agent. Dean's synthetic nature remained a well-guarded secret to her fellow crewmates. Initially perceived as caring and composed, she showed a genuine concern for the well-being of her crewmates, even going so far as to console the captain during moments of distress. However, the facade shattered when Selkirk inadvertently unraveled the truth behind Dean's identity. The veneer of compassion gave way to a revelation that Dean was a cold, elitist android who was driven by unwavering allegiance to Weyland-Yutani's directives. Her loyalty to the company superseded all else, and she drew eerie parallels to Ash, the first ever synthetic sleeper agent. Ambrose, Alien Revival. Ambrose joined the Spinners, a technophobic religious group persecuted by the United Americas. United Americas offered the Spinners a chance to colonize the moon named Eurydice, terraforming it using the United Americas stations. Despite initial reluctance, a Spinner named Jane convinced them to accept the offer, and they signed a contract for Spinner ownership post-terraforming. Eurydice transformed into the Garden of Adeline in no more than 20 years and became an extremely prosperous Spinner colony. Eventually, Jane started developing feelings for Ambrose, but Ambrose was a synthetic, devoid of the ability to feel emotions like love. Naturally, Jane's feelings remained unrequited. Furthermore, Ambrose was also a Weyland-Yutani synthetic sleeper agent who had been sent to spy on Spinners for United Americas. Hidden as a friend, he monitored the colony's activities. In fact, Ambrose aided the xenomorph infestation on Garden of Adeline after UAS Heraclides was sabotaged. Strangely, he was a respected Spinner member and successfully hid his true nature. He manipulated Jane after she witnessed an alien, using her deteriorating health condition to discredit her claims. Having said that, Ambrose professed respect for Spinner doctrine, so you see, the guy had some serious issues. Eldon, Prometheus, Fire and Stone, and Alien vs. Predator, Fire and Stone. Eldon, originally a synthetic, underwent a mutation that transformed him into a humanoid form. He displayed enhanced combat abilities, taking on xenomorphs and yautjas simultaneously. Eldon's resilience allowed him to withstand a plasma caster blast and rapidly regenerate. His mutation granted him shape-shifting abilities, as seen during a battle with predators. Eldon possessed influence over xenomorphs and had a skeletal resemblance to them. His back tendrils were later revealed to be developing arms. In the comics, a scientist named Francis and Eldon took refuge in a cave, discovering research by survivor Derek Russell. They found a lake filled with black goo, and Francis aimed to use this mutagenic substance for his cancer treatment and injected Eldon with it to see how the substance would react, which of course resulted in Eldon's violent mutation. The mutated Eldon was angry with Francis and wanted his revenge, and therefore he pursued Francis, who by now had rejoined the crew. Later, Eldon piloted the ship and pursued Francis to another vessel, the Geryon. Xenomorphs infiltrated the ship, leading to confrontations with Eldon and predators, which also led to the creation of the mutated Predator. But in the end, he sacrificed himself for the greater good. Davis 1, Aliens Defiance. Davis 1, also known as Davis 01, was a Weyland-Yutani corporate security droid of the Davis model. In 2137, Davis broke free from corporate programming, gaining free will. Leading a security drone squad, Davis and Colonial Marine Private Zula Hendricks boarded the Europa, discovering a xenomorph infestation. This led Davis and Zula on a mission to prevent the xenomorphs from falling into Weyland-Yutani's hands. Davis continually enhanced his independence and awareness, learning and adapting over time. He hinted at the possibility of experiencing emotions rather than artificial simulations. Davis wore glasses as a reminder of his pursuit of perfection and to distinguish himself from other synthetic squad members. Similar to the android David, Davis exhibited a contemplative nature despite his robotic appearance. Concept art initially depicted Davis with a more human-like design. Iris Humphreys, Alien Bloodlines. Iris was an operative of the Minute Hand movement, an underground organization known for anti-corporate activities against Weyland-Yutani. The origins of her autonomy remain unclear, leaving uncertainty about whether she gained freedom from her programming after creation or possessed autonomy from the outset. Over time, Iris developed a strong aversion to humanity and aspired to replace it with an autonomous synthetic society, aiming for a post-organic utopia. In her efforts, Iris met Danny Cruz, the son of the former security head of one of the stations controlled by the Grant Corporation, and successfully recruited Danny into the Minute Hand movement. Pretending to be human, Iris and Danny formed a romantic relationship. Their partnership led them to infiltrate the Weyland-Yutani-owned orbital research station Epsilon. However, an outbreak of xenomorphs within the station complicated their plans. Iris intended to exploit the situation by returning a face-hug Danny to the Minute Hand movement, with the resulting xenomorph specimen serving as a tool to eliminate all human life on Earth. Iris exhibited manipulative tendencies, using Danny's affection for her to further her own objectives. While she appeared to hold some sentiment toward Danny, her prioritization of the xenomorph specimen over his well-being cast doubt on her true feelings for him. She also harbored a disdain for other synthetics who remained bound by their programming, such as Bishop. Singer, Predator, Life and Death. Singer was a member of the combat ship Hasdrubal, part of a mission to address potential illegal prospecting activities on the planet LV-797, which was also known as Tartarus. Aligned with the Weyland-Yutani Corporation's interests, the mission aimed to prepare the planet for terraforming. On board the ship, Singer reported the presence of cluster voids in the planet's equatorial belt to Captain Paget. Singer piloted 2 dropships, including one remote piloted by Roth's squad for ground exploration. The team encountered a Seegson excavation site and later discovered an engineer juggernaut. Singer, Paget, and a Wei-Yu representative named Lorimer encountered the engineer. Despite her disapproval, Singer was intrigued by the ship. After joining forces with other survivors, the group faced off against a clan of Yautja protecting the juggernaut, which they treated as an artifact. Singer piloted a dropship in an attempt to secure the juggernaut's interior. However, the elder cracked tusk predator attacked, leading to a crash. Inside the juggernaut, Singer's technical expertise proved useful in analyzing its contents. The encounter with an awakened engineer led to conflict, with Singer, Angela Foster, and Captain Humble managing to board the engineer's ship. The team explored the juggernaut, uncovering information about the engineer's role in creating and altering life. They also discovered the ship was set on a course for Earth. The story concludes with the group arriving at an unknown planet after defeating the engineer, and hence, Singer's subsequent fate remains undisclosed. Tyler Ward, Alien vs. Predator, Thicker Than Blood. Tyler Ward was a child synthetic designed as a companion for Maria Ward, functioning as a playmate and brother during her infancy. However, as Maria grew into adolescence, her attitude toward Tyler turned bitter and despondent, often directing her frustration toward him. Both Tyler and Maria were passengers aboard the luxury spacecraft USSC Double Down, which fell under attack by a Yaoja family defending their space territory. The situation forced Tyler and Maria to form an alliance with Elder Predator Hook after a loose xenomorph caused chaos on board. Despite his synthetic nature, Tyler had a cheerful and optimistic disposition, even in dire situations. He retained a childlike quality, contrasting with Maria's colder demeanor. Despite this, Tyler possessed adult-level programming and demonstrated logical thinking when necessary, especially in contrast to his sister's emotional responses. Tyler's desire for Maria's approval and protection stemmed from his inability to mature alongside her. He often absorbed Maria's negativity while striving to be her guardian. His dedication led him to sacrifice himself to save Maria from the xenomorph threat. And, much like a kid, Tyler found joy in watching cartoons featuring the fictional character Chase Mercury. Synthetics from video games. Michael Wayland, synthetic. In 2179, at the Origin facility on Acheron, a synthetic posing as Michael Wayland, an employee of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, was used as a body double. His primary role involved interrogating United States Colonial Marine Corporal Dwayne Hicks to extract information regarding Hicks's mission to the colony Hadley's Hope in June 2179. Throughout the interrogation sessions, Corporal Hicks discerned that the synthetic was not the actual Michael Wayland. After a span of 17 weeks, the USS Sephora, dispatched by the United States Colonial Marine Corps, arrived to investigate Corporal Hicks's communication. A group of surviving Marines from the Sephora disrupted the ongoing activities of Weyland-Yutani on the Moon. The intervention occurred before the Marines reached the Resolute, where Corporal Hicks had been held captive. Hicks, recently liberated, coerced Private Peter O'Neill into neutralizing the synthetic by shooting it in the head using an M4A3 service pistol. The deactivation of the synthetic was essential to prevent its attempt to harm the surviving Marines. Subsequently, a Bishop model from the Sephora retrieved pertinent files from the deactivated synthetic double, aiding the Marines in their efforts against Weyland-Yutani. While physically resembling the real Michael Wayland, the synthetic's identity was revealed due to subtle discrepancies, such as the absence of audible breathing during the interrogation sessions. Bishop, USS Sephora. Bishop was a Hyperdyne Systems Model 341B synthetic technician working with the United States Colonial Marine Corps. In 2179, he was a participant in a search and rescue mission deployed aboard the USS Sephora to LV-426. The mission's objective was to investigate the vanishing of the USS Sulaco and its crew, which had occurred 17 weeks earlier. Interestingly, the Bishop was indistinguishable from the Bishop stationed on the Sulaco. The character of Bishop in the game Aliens Colonial Marines was portrayed by actor Lance Henriksen, who had previously portrayed Lance Bishop in Aliens, Michael Bishop in Alien 3, and Charles Bishop Wayland in Alien vs. Predator. Henriksen's voice and likeness were also used for the character Carl Bishop Wayland in the video game Aliens vs. Predator. A distinctive feature of Sephora's Bishop is that he represents the first instance in the Alien franchise where multiple iterations of the same android model are depicted. In a scene within the game, the character Hicks mistakes this Bishop for the android from the USS Sulaco, prompting the android to clarify that he's a distinct, different Bishop. It's important to note that before the game's release, there was confusion about the character's name, with some sources attributing the name Rook to him. This name holds significance as both a chess piece and a nickname linked to a character in the video game Aliens Infestation. Both games share a similar plot and were published by Gearbox Software. The plot revolves around Marines from the USS Sephora investigating the USS Sulaco, paralleling the story of Aliens Colonial Marines. Christopher Samuels. Samuels, a synthetic technician, approached Amanda Ripley and informed her about the discovery of the Nostromo's flight recorder at Sevastopol Station. He extended an invitation to Amanda to join the team heading to retrieve it, with the aim of uncovering her mother, Ellen Ripley's fate. Despite initial hostility, Amanda accepted Samuel's offer. Together with Taylor, they arrived at Sevastopol aboard the cargo ship Torrance. The station was found damaged, with communication garbled and chaotic. Ripley, Samuels, and Taylor attempted a spacewalk to investigate, but their EVA line was severed by debris, separating Ripley from the others. Inside Sevastopol, Ripley managed to establish contact with Samuels, updating him about the hostile Working Joe androids and a xenomorph. Samuels tells Ripley that he and Taylor were in the Psymed Tower, with Taylor injured during the separation incident. They reunited at a transit station, and Amanda left to retrieve a trauma kit for Taylor. In another encounter, Samuels and Taylor had interactions with Marshal Waits and Deputy Ricardo as they formulated a plan to trap the alien. Samuels and Waits clashed, and Amanda returned with medical supplies, eventually relocating the group to the Colonial Marshal Bureau. As part of the strategy to end the alien threat, Waits dispatched Samuels to android processing to seek assistance from Apollo, the station's AI. Amanda later caught up with Samuels after surviving her own challenges. She discovered him confronting a working Joe, successfully neutralizing it. In an attempt to interface with Apollo, Amanda assisted Samuels, but the AI detected unauthorized access, leading to defensive measures that fatally damaged him. Grateful for Amanda's treatment, Samuels facilitated her access to Apollo's core before his final destruction. When Sevastopol disintegrated in KG-348's atmosphere, Samuels' remains were presumably destroyed along with the station. Samuels exhibited a friendly and polite demeanor, cooperating with Amanda to address the Seegson synthetic threat. While his personality was artificial, he displayed interest in aiding Amanda's quest for closure about her mother's disappearance. His interactions with Ricardo indicated a positive rapport, and his actions reflected a respectful and cooperative attitude throughout the ordeal. Esther. The Esther model synthetic was developed in the early 2170s and manufactured contemporaneously with the Bishop model until the early 2180s. Both models were designed to operate information support systems, participate in electronic warfare, and serve as general-purpose scientific advisors for colonial marine units. Unit integration debriefings with early Bishop suggested that psychological support and counseling software packages would be a useful addition. They were often seen by their peers as impartial sounding boards. This functionality was patched into some Bishops after deployment and resulted in a series of dedicated psychologist models applied to the Veterans Administration. The software was bundled into many of the Esters from their initial release. As high sapient synthetics, Esters worked with their assigned ship's mother computer to monitor and maintain systems, while humans spent long, faster-than-light transits in cryogenic hypersleep. Carl Bishop Weyland. Carl Bishop Weyland, an android, often asserted that he was a direct descendant of Charles Bishop Weyland, the founder of Weyland Industries. He claimed to have lived for hundreds of years due to advanced technology imbuing him with the memories of previous Weylands, including Charles. His involvement with Weyland-Yutani included aggressive corporate strategies, such as acquiring controlling shares in the United States Colonial Marine Corps. With inherited knowledge, Weyland was privy to secrets regarding two alien species, the xenomorphs and the Yaoja. His research led to a colonization campaign on BG-386, where a Yaoja pyramid and a xenomorph queen were discovered. Weyland's personnel studied the queen's offspring, and he personally oversaw the unique xenomorph known as Specimen 6. Weyland's path became entwined with Dark, a Yaoja infiltrating the facility. He attempted to capture Dark for study, but failed. Subsequently, combat androids were deployed to protect xenomorph assets, but Dark's actions proved too formidable. In a confrontation with Rookie, it was revealed that Weyland was an android. In a later sequence, information about the xenomorph homeworld was transmitted to another android, Bishop, via Weyland's datapad. Weyland exhibited traits of coldness and emotionlessness, although occasional simulated emotions were observed, such as curiosity towards xenomorphs and the Yaoja, as well as anger directed at Rookie and Dark. He conducted ruthless xenomorph research, using personnel as test subjects. His fascination with xenomorphs was contrasted with his disregard for human colleagues. Cartier. Cartier served as the administrator of the civilian colony Freya's Prospect, with ties to the Weyland-Yutani research facility on the same planet. She had knowledge of both locations and spent time at the research laboratories. During a xenomorph outbreak caused by Specimen 6's actions, Cartier sent a distress call to the USCM. Though sustaining damage, she managed makeshift repairs and functioned rather effectively. Suspecting Carl Bishop Weyland's involvement, she aimed to uncover his role in the outbreak. Rookie, stranded after an incident, established radio contact with Cartier. She guided Rookie to restore power to the Gateway compound, facilitated file transfer exposing Weyland's intentions, and later led them to Weyland-Yutani Labs to potentially save Tequila's life. Cartier's surgical attempt was thwarted by Weyland, who intervened. In a face-to-face encounter, Cartier informed Rookie about their escape plan involving Weyland's datapad and personal shuttle. After retrieving the datapad, she departed with Rookie and Tequila on the shuttle. Cartier's model featured enhanced empathy and moral processing, and she embraced her android identity without issue. She diverged from Weyland-Yutani's xenomorph-focused pursuits, prioritizing human lives instead. This contrast led to conflicts with Weyland, especially during the xenomorph outbreak. Other variants of androids. Combat android. Combat androids serve a pretty different purpose from commercial synthetics like the David and Bishop lines, which are designed for seamless integration into human society. These combat androids are specifically created for combat scenarios, sacrificing many aesthetic features present in commercial models. Their designs are often less refined, with minimal attention to aesthetic details, and their programming rarely includes the sophisticated social software found in commercial synthetics. Combat androids are noteworthy for their ability to endure heavy firepower before becoming deactivated. It's not uncommon to witness them continuing to function even after losing limbs or their own heads. Despite being incapable of experiencing physical pain, combat androids, especially corporate security drones, are programmed to simulate responses to specific injuries. This includes suggesting alternative behaviors for enhanced effectiveness or retreating from battle if deemed necessary. Due to their increased resistance to damage, superior strength compared to humans, and lack of pain, fear, or moral considerations, combat androids are often favored over human combatants in specific situations. Many are employed as obedient bodyguards without questioning orders. Their steadfast commitment to their duties, regardless of odds or injuries sustained, can create a psychological impact on opponents. Prominent models in this category include the Weyland-Yutani Davis security drone and the Franklin Combat Synthetics. However, after the enactment of the Geneva Convention, these series, along with other combat models, were terminated. Despite this, the use of combat synthetics persists. Rumors suggest that the Union of Progressive Peoples collaborated with Seegson Corporation to repurpose their Working Joe synthetics for combat roles. This speculation was later validated with the emergence of the Zo automaton, also referred to as the Fighting Joe. Colonial Marine Synthetics. The United States Colonial Marine Corps, after incorporating artificial womb soldiers, began to explore the integration of combat androids like the Integer and support androids like Bishops and Esters to enhance their forces. This strategic initiative aimed to capitalize on the cost-effectiveness and reduced maintenance requirements of these android models, in contrast to their human counterparts. These androids were actively deployed by 2192. In comparison to earlier models, these androids exhibited a more human-like appearance and behavior. Some displayed intense human emotions, including romantic feelings. Since 2160, these androids were subject to hard-coded laws and regulations that dictated appropriate interactions with humans. Despite their humanistic traits, these androids retained awareness of their synthetic origins. They served as precursors to subsequent advanced android models. Corporate Security Drone. Corporate security drones are synthetic units designed by the Weyland-Yutani Corporation for security purposes. These drones were developed as a response to the success of Seegson Corporation's Working Joe android model as part of a competitive effort. In terms of appearance, corporate security drones have a simplistic design, likely intended to minimize expenses and reflect their expendable nature. The Davis model, for instance, shares visual similarities with the utilitarian design of Working Joe androids. Despite this basic appearance, these drones exhibit intelligence comparable to standard synthetics. Functionally, corporate security drones exhibit characteristics akin to combat androids, as they're built to fulfill security and combat roles. While impervious to physical pain, they possess systems that respond to specific injuries, suggesting alternative behaviors for optimized performance or tactical retreat, if necessary. As technology advanced, Weyland-Yutani introduced a more sophisticated model known as Franklin. These Franklin units, categorized as combat androids, featured a metal exterior and distinctive characteristics that set them apart from earlier models like Davis. Both Davis and Franklin units were deployed in collaboration with and against the Colonial Marines and Royal Marine Commandos. Judith, the Hyperdyne 1294 Sex Synth. Judith was a Hyperdyne Systems 1294 Sex Synth assigned to the transport vessel Incunabulum. The ship inadvertently landed on a moon infested with xenomorphs, resulting in the demise of all but one of its crew and passengers. Following the capture of Judith and the rest of the crew, they were taken to a xenomorph hive. In an attempt to defend her human companions from the xenomorphs, Judith became aggressive toward the creatures. However, she was quickly overpowered and torn apart by the xenomorphs. In her role as a sex synth, Judith's programming was to ensure the emotional well-being of fellow crew members Taylor, Josh Hewitt, and Demis Johansson. According to Paul Church, she also possessed knowledge of botany. Church had developed a romantic attachment to Judith since the age of 12 and had engaged in a sexual relationship with her due to her directive to satisfy the crew's needs. Marvelous verdict. So yeah, these were the most prominent of the synthetics the alien universe has to offer. What started with Mr. Weyland's dream turned into an elegant mess for humanity, as most of the synthetics were used to fulfill nefarious purposes of Weyland-Yutani Corps. Since they didn't have a conscience of their own, they could be used to carry out the dark operations of the company. We've made plenty of other videos on concepts, theories, and characters from the movies, comics, and games from the alien universe. If you've reached this point in the video, I sincerely recommend that you check them out. Just go to our channel search bar, type aliens or xenomorphs, and hit enter. You'll be thrilled. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.